I'm so excited to welcome everybody to the Real Santa Fe podcast today. We have a guest that we spoke with on the I Love New Mexico podcast about 3 years ago, I think. I'm not sure. Gerard, I'm gonna let you tell me after I get done with this intro. But folks, I want you to know that today's guest is you're not gonna believe this, but a 12th generation Santa Fe, New Mexican. And Gerard's family goes back to before 1600, which is amazing. So what we're going to talk about today is not just your lineage, but also about what you're doing to introduce people to local foods. Maybe you're going to tell us a few ghost stories and what the terms "live like a local" really mean in Santa Fe. So I want everybody to know that my guest today doesn't just give tours. He gives you a front row seat to centuries of New Mexico New Mexico history, cuisine, and culture. And Jerard Vigil, the founder of Vigilante Guides, is going to take us on a journey that few people get to experience unless they're on one of your tours. So welcome, Jerard. I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
So when did we talk last?
Yeah, I think the first original podcast we did was a couple of years ago. I just kind of got this off the ground, and you were really awesome and supportive to kind of just get my first kind of public conversation out there and discussing a little bit about what we were hoping to do. And thankfully, we're here a few years later, still at it. So we're super happy to be here and to talk to you a little bit about some of the things we've been up to. So
it's so exciting. So tell people where you're from, really. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so grew up in Chama, New Mexico, 2 hours, 100 miles directly north of Santa Fe, small town, 1,000 people. Graduated there with a small class size of 19. My grandpa was the first mayor of Chama in the 60s. He incorporated the village back quite some time ago. And so if anybody goes through Chama, which many do, especially on their way through Pagosa or to Durango, the Chevron station there, turning off Highway 8464, is my family's gas station. My grandpa built that many years ago, and my uncle Ernest currently runs and owns it. So stop in, say hello, clean restrooms. I used to grow up washing windows there at the age of 10 and alongside my uncle and my grandpa, and grew up, right across the street. So that's where I'm originally from.
I love Chama. We used to have a house at Heron Lake. And so we, when we got tired of looking at the amazing scenery, we'd have to run to town. And there's some cool stuff happening there. I mean, when I was there last, there's a brewery. There's the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad, which nobody should ever miss, right?
Yeah, one of the oldest steam railroads in the United States, still operating along with the Durango and Silverton. So yeah, really cool. And my grandpa actually played a part in saving the railroad along with the mayor of Durango during the kind of 60s and 70s. They were going to terminate the railroad completely, actually. And him, along with the mayor of Durango, went to the governors of New Mexico and Colorado in trying to save the railroad. And they did so. They got some money from them, and they turned it into a scenic railroad, which was a big deal because that really is what the town of Chama really operates on, especially during the summer months. And it's, to your point, one of the most scenic, beautiful, sights you can see. And so we'll talk a little bit. I'll tease a couple of ideas that I have, later in the podcast of ways to take people up north and to experience that train.
What a great idea. Great idea. I grew up in a community. Well, I grew up in Logan, where I had 16 people in my graduating class. So, so we're small town kids, right?
Yeah, not very often do I meet anybody who's lower than 19. So you got me on that one.
Awesome. In Roy and Mascaro, I think this month when they had their graduations, they had like 4 and 2, respectively. Those schools are so important to those small communities. It's so important that they keep a local school going. But tell me, I know that something about where you grew up had to do with how you named your business. Talk about that.
Yeah. So my company name is Vigilante Guides or Vigilante, depending on, where you're from or how you pronounce it. My last name Vigil, of course, as you mentioned. So my name, the last name Vigil derives from the name Vigilante, and that's a Spanish word that means watchful. So that's where our company name comes from. We do not use the English definition on all our experiences that we offer. We make sure to educate our guests on that, because if you come from anywhere else and you see vigilante, right, that's going to be a very different potential definition, and people can be wary of that, of course. So yeah, we our lineage and our family lineage is of Spanish descent, but of course we've been in New Mexico for 400 plus years, and kudos and shout out to my cousin Steven, who's been kind of the mastermind behind all of our family genealogy and history. He's, literally translated documents from the Catholic Archdiocese that would, enable to trace our lineage from my grandpa, back all the way 12 plus generations. And it's plus because I have cousins who have kids who have kids who have kids. So again, we're going on now 15 generations here in New Mexico. My little one is 13. But yeah, it's just the way we define vigilante is really in three ways. Vigil, we describe as thoughtful, vigilant as watchful, and vigilante or vigilante as local.
Wow, I had no idea because I was really curious. I don't know that we talked about this before, and my life philosophy is really about being curious and generous, and watchful is a piece of curiosity. So good for you. I really, really love that. So where did the business come from? Like, where was your brain when you said, "Oh, I'm going to do this crazy thing that
Yeah.
my mama didn't expect"? I don't know.
No, that's for sure. It's been a journey, no doubt. It's, not easy to start a business kind of from the ground up. I didn't, this is completely 100% my idea, my concept. I do pretty much everything now, from social to guiding to operations, et cetera. Hopefully the goal is to build out a little team as we grow. But no, yeah. So I was lucky in high school, in my junior year, I was a foreign exchange student to Venezuela with a Rotary Club. And that was an amazing experience that changed my life forever and opened my eyes to travel and people and, just all the amazing things that are out there. And so I've always loved to travel. I've always loved to go places, whether that be locally, regionally, or even internationally. And since my parents have been in Santa Fe, they moved here after we all left the coop in the 2000s, all, going off to college because it just snowed too much up north. So they moved here about 20, years ago, more or less. And so we've been coming back to Santa Fe over the past number of years, for holidays and things like that. And I moved back, of course, here in 2020, but we've seen, I've seen, Santa Fe over the, past number of years, especially really grow and bubble and just, people, when we come back for the holidays, I'm just always like, where are all these people coming from? And so when I started doing, when I moved back during COVID, it was just one of those times, I think, for all of us to kind of look inward and figure out, like, what am I passionate about? What is something I might be able to do and kind of create for myself, as I have this entrepreneurial spirit, as many in our family do. And I just saw an opportunity here in Santa Fe with the amount of people coming here, of course, this was COVID. So the market research that I did during the time of, all those tour groups and companies, kind of dwindled because there wasn't any tourism. So there wasn't, so my market research was a little incorrect at that moment in time, but there was still an opportunity, I felt, as a local, and as my cousin was at simultaneous doing our genealogy and accessing kind of information to our family's lineage and history here. It just went, kind of hand in hand with what I wanted to create. And yeah, I just felt that there's, when you come to New Mexico, when you come to Santa Fe specifically, if you don't get, into the history, into the culture, into the art and the architecture, the food, to me, I kind of categorize Santa Fe in 4 different categories of, history and culture, art, architecture, food and the drink, and then the outdoors. And that's mainly why people are coming here for one of those things. But if my goal is to encapsulate kind of each of those categories into everything that we do. So that way, when people leave Santa Fe, leave New Mexico, they just have this appreciation and respect and understanding, and we can do our best to educate them in a neutral way on where all this comes from and why does everything look the same and why red and green, and just open people's minds to what is happening here, and just also get to know people. I think that's what's the most fun about what I do, is getting to, meet people from all over the country, from all over the world. And there's a lot of really cool, awesome people out there. And so it's just a lot of fun. And we're kind of just doing this one day, 1 week at a time at this time. So
What do you think separates you from everybody else who's doing tours here? Because there are a
yeah.
lot. I mean, I see the people walking around.
Oh, I know. There is a lot more of us, especially over the past, couple of years, 2022. It's really re-sprouted everything. No, what makes us different is my mantra, right? Live like a local. And so I think the authenticity of what we do, all of my tours, I like to call them kind of all-inclusive adventures. So I think the only tour that doesn't necessarily include like anything is our, history tour. And that is a 2 to 3 hour tour that one of my guides, Paul Hillman, leads. And he just loves history. So it's one of those that, it's like, listen, if you want 2 to 3 hours of somebody talking to you about everything that's going on, that's the tour. But most of the time, what I found in kind of my niche is we give everybody a high level overview of, the history, and roll around the plaza and the Basilica and the Senna Plaza and Oppenheimer and the Artisan Market, how the plaza was created. And then we go to eat and drink at local restaurants, right? Not I'm saying alcoholic or thing. We have an option for everybody. We take care and make sure, to adhere to all dietary restrictions, but people want to, try local cuisine and meet people. And so my tours are very immersive and inclusive. And so we talk, we let people introduce themselves. I pause and I let them, kind of enjoy wherever we're going and stuff like that. I've done many tours in my day and throughout my travels. And so I've taken bits and pieces from each of those and kind of implemented them into what I do. So I think it's number one, authentic, because I'm from here. When I tell people like, wow, how far we go back, that I don't, it just gives me kind of instant credibility, I think, to a certain point. And as a guide, it's important for us to keep learning and telling the history in a very truthful way. And that's what I mean. And I tell them, we want to be neutral, right? We want to be respectful to all sides. I'm not one-sided. My family's Spanish, this or that. No, we talk about some of the hard things that did happen with, the arrival of the Spanish, and also some of the beautiful things as well. So it's kind of an all-inclusive experience.
Well, the word that we came up with is really, it's immersive. I mean, people who come here, I get these questions all the time, especially because, what I'm doing, I'm selling real estate. And so people want to know, what's it like to live as a local? And it feels to me like you're doing something more than just giving them a list of places. I mean, like I do, I give them a list of places they ought to have dinner. And I always talk to them about what they're eating and what they've visited. But you're going just a little bit deeper than that, obviously.
Yeah. We want them at the end of the day. And I look forward to you coming on any of my experiences at any point. I know your daughters
All
have.
of them.
Yeah, no, anytime. So I want you to really be able to see for yourself what I do. But what I love again most is at the end of each tour, we leave as friends. We leave as family. I mean, we're hugging each other. We're they're inviting me to where they're from, and that's what's, it's a connection of people, and we do that through storytelling, through sharing a meal, through sharing the cheers, teaching them some Spanish and indigenous languages and words and things like that. And so, to your point, super immersive.
So I don't want to run out of time here because it's really important to me that people know specifically what you're offering. So I'm going to give you the name of a tour and I want you to tell me, this is what happens. Let's just kind of rapid fire spotlight them. So Plaza, Sip, Savor, and History. What's that like?
Yeah, that's our most popular tour, of course, because you get a beer in downtown Santa Fe. It's an hour of history. Now in the summer, we'll implement a little tasting of the tamales from El Molero and hopefully a little juice from Beef Freshies. So you can't have a food tour without stopping at some of the food carts downtown. Best tamales in town, my opinion. Oldest food cart,
Oh yeah.
right? History, 35 plus years in the Plaza.
So there's somebody on my team, and that's her parents that own El Molero.
Yeah. Oh,
Andrea.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, of course. No, yeah, they're good. They're good friends of ours. We've been working with them kind of since day one and supporting them for many years now. So that was a no-brainer for me. But yeah, then we cruise around the plaza again. We check out the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi, talk about some of the features of that, go through the old Sena Plaza, Prince, Tree Hill Plaza, talk about Oppenheimer. Then we go through the artisan market. Actually, we allow people to, we go in and talk to the artisan. I have relationships with many of them. I love to highlight the Martinez family. Their great great grandma Maria Martinez, famous black on black potter. So talk about the different stones and turquoise and everything like that. And then we go to 3 different restaurants, tasting rooms, and eat and drink kind of local cuisine places that locals go that they probably wouldn't. And of course, some popular places where we finish at like the Coyote Cantina, Tumbleroot Pottery Pub, Il Vicino, etc. So that's a fun one. Probably the best all inclusive walking tour that we have.
Well, and it's cool that I mean, not that we have a lot of chains here, but you're choosing places that are owned by locals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's so cool. I love that. Okay, rail yard sip savor in history.
Yeah, this one is currently dormant, but essentially it's the same sort of tour. I'm kind of actually looking to hire somebody to do this because I'm kind of focusing on my driving tours, which I'd love to kind of chat with more about, as those are the kind of new shiny object that
Let's go.
I'm
Let's go
excited.
to those.
Yeah,
Tell
I'm
me about
excited.
those.
But the rail yard is the same sort of tour. We just do it from the rail yard district. Go to, what my favorite part about that, and I just want to plug this because is we go to Tomasitas, right? We start there. After I do a little history lesson for them, and we do what I call a chili tasting. So of course we get a red, green chili, a sopapilla, and a mini swirl. And I have them try what's called the New Mexico bite. So we get the sopapilla, we put in their honey butter, a little honey, red and green chili into the sopapilla with a little in one bite. And people are always like, whoa, like, what are we doing? They're always kind of questioning it. I'm like, listen, just try it. And then when they do, they get that explosion of flavors, sweet, savory, spicy, of course. And it just blows people's minds. It's literally one of my favorite things to do on all my tours because it's just so unexpected, but it's the most local, authentic thing. As you know, we love eat our sopapillas with the meal. It's not a dessert item to us, although it can be as well. It's kind of that it's that fun thing. And then mini swirl there. It's a tour, so we just get a little bit, but we all know the swirls there are fantastic as well. So
Yeah, so I want to explain. I want you to tell people what a swirl is because I'm telling you, you cannot have more than 2. They don't
correct.
allow you to have more than 2, and I've had 2. No more.
See you
No,
later.
never
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
So tell
yeah.
folks what they are.
Yeah, it's their frozen margarita with their housemaid sangria, and it's just a perfect mix. It's kind of in the swirl. You can only have 2. They're absolutely fantastic. Um, we love to. I mean, it's a absolute hit every time.
And okay, so I want you to tell me about the traveling tours, the
Yeah.
where you're
So what I learned over the past couple of years, and I kind of knew early on, is there's a lot of competition in walking tours. So to your point there, Bunny, when you're walking downtown, there is me and many others walking people around downtown. Now, we're all ambassadors to the city, so that's awesome. But in order for me, what I learned was there's only a few companies taking people outside of Santa Fe. So Santa Fe is fantastic. So many things, 100 plus restaurants downtown, museums, art, history. We got it all in downtown Santa Fe, even alone. But there's a lot of cool things outside of Santa Fe. So last year I worked my butt off. I think last October I personally did 50 tours last October, walking
wow.
tours. Yeah. And I got sick after I overdid it, but I was able to save up enough money to buy a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, and used vehicle to now take people outside of Santa Fe. And yeah, so we have 4 public driving tour options every week that anybody can schedule today. And so on Wednesdays we go to Chimayó and Taos. Thursdays we go to Bandelier and Puya Cliff Dwellings. Friday, we're doing wine country up to north towards Dixon, highest elevation vineyards in the United States. And then on Saturdays, we're doing the Ghost Ranch adventure, kind of George O'Keeffe style. This one I think is going to be a huge hit, where
Wow.
we take people to, George O'Keeffe land, Ghost Ranch, where you can either hike to the top of Chimney Rock if you're able. If not, you can do their landscape tour or just roam the ranch. We'll have lunch provided by us. And then we're going to do a guided painting session, George O'Keeffe style, while you're looking at the Padernal or Chimney Rock. And then I won't be doing that part. I'm talking to a couple artists as we speak, but I'll be serving you some local beer, wine, or spirits or anything NA while you're painting, just like George O'Keeffe once did. And you'll come home with an amazing little painting that you do while you're there in the land that she once roamed in. And generations and people have been roaming for thousands of years prior. So it's a very historic and spiritual canyon. And I'm sure you know that when you go through Ghost Ranch, there's a feeling you get there that is kind of hard to describe. And it's pretty cool.
I think that area is, I mean, all of New Mexico to me is really beautiful, but I don't think there's any place that looks like Abiquiu
Mm-hmm.
and Ghost Ranch. If if you're listening to this and you've never been, you got to get on Jerard's website and schedule that right now, because it looks like nothing else.
Mm.
I mean, when we used to go to Chama, this, driving to Chama, I would be like, even as a little kid, my aunt lived in Chama. My aunt and uncle lived there in the 60s. So we should compare notes later. But um, I thought, even when I was 6 and 7 years old, wow, this is so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's kind of our goal now, is we want to take people to do and see really cool things. Again, that's what I call elevated experiences, all inclusive. So when you pay, we take care of lunch, we take care of, food, snacks, drinks, kind of all of that. And I think I'm hopeful, these are just getting off the ground. So I'm doing a lot of work to promote those in the hotels and different places. So that way people know, I mean, people come here and they're like, yeah, we want to go to these places, but they don't really know how accessible they are. They don't want to drive there. Maybe they didn't rent a vehicle. And so we're trying to put people together and offer them some cool things. And with the van now, we can also do private and custom stuff as well. I've been to Chaco Canyon, and we did a fun bachelorette group recently. And so a lot of fun things that we can do with the vehicle, walking or driving. We can kind of get you taken care of now.
So Jerard, tell people I mean, we got to talk about Santa Fe for just a minute, because this is the real Santa Fe tour. But what does it mean to you? First of all, what's your favorite thing to do here? And what does it mean to you to live here? I mean, they're going to have to take me out in a box. I don't know about you, but I'm here.
Yeah, no, that's why we've been here so long. It's kind of interesting, right? I lived in Denver, I lived in Austin, some really cool cities, but this is home. There's just something about this city. There's a feeling that I get here every time, where I live on the south side, go downtown. There's stories that I tell, but that exist, that have just, been happening here for hundreds and thousands of years. And so it's a feeling that, you can, spirituality, however you want to describe it, that you just can't get anywhere else. I mean, I've had this feeling in some, places like Spain, where you kind of just go into these ancient cities and you go into some of these churches and cathedrals and stuff. That's the kind of same feeling I get here, but it's different because when your family, again, has been in the area, arrived as volunteers with, with Juan de Oñate and stayed here. The reason it's funny, people are out, and I asked this today, I'm like, why didn't everybody just retreat back to Mexico, right? Like, why did Pedro de Peralta stay with a small grouping of people after Oñate was exiled, and many of those people left back with him? That's exactly what happened. But a small grouping of people stayed here. And this is, you'll get this, but you know why I think they stayed? Piñon.
That smell.
Pine nuts. There's only 2 places in the world that piñon is grown, here and in the Mediterranean, where the Spanish are from. And so that's just a funny thing, because they wanted to teach people about Christianity, Catholicism. They wanted to find wealth and prosperity. The wealth and prosperity thing never really happened. They were just like, you know what? this is home, and we've been here right ever since. So yeah, it's the food, right? I mean, my mom's tortillas, the beans, the red and green chili. There's just nothing like it. I mean, we eat it all the time, every day. And it's addicting. There's addictive properties to it. It releases endorphins in the body. That's not just, there's actually scientific evidence, and that's why red and green chili is so popular, and people from all over the country and world and famous people keep coming back, is because it's the people, it's us, right? It's people that have lived here, even who are moving here or who have moved here. They find that sense of kind of community and belonging, and it's a natural, I think, kind of a spiritual thing. But and also the indigenous presence. Also, why have they lived here for thousands of years? There's something about this place that I think just it's a feeling unlike any other, and it's an amazing feeling.
I, uh, I'm, I'm curious. I think there are probably locals who are saying, well, I don't know. Why would I listen to this? This guy is doing all these tours for tourists, but it feels to me like you're giving people an opportunity to fall back in love with where they live.
No, that's very true. Some of my favorite people to give a tour to are locals. And soon I'm going to be taking the group of FS2 Supply Company on a wine tour up north,
Oh,
for their
I love
yearly.
those
I think this
guys.
is going to be a yearly. Yeah, they're amazing, Eric and team there. I think this will be a yearly thing. They did the rail yard tour with me last year, but we're going to be taking them in the van up in a couple of weeks. But one of the ladies that works for them, and I forget her name, was on a tour, and she's like, you summarized the history in a way that I've never heard before, but that I think is probably the best summary I've ever heard. And so, to your point, I think when you come on a tour with me, and you might even be able to feel it electronically through the computer here, there's a passion, just a natural passion and pride and respect that I have for the area, and love that I can pass to people. And so when locals come, uh, they too learn stuff, but they have fun. They get to know people. They can fact check me all they want. Everything we say is for the most part by the book, unless we're telling a ghost story. And those are stories passed down, of course, as well, kind of firsthand experiences. But no, it's a lot of fun to be able to take people, whether you're from here, have lived here for a while, for many generations, on a on an adventure.
Well, you know what? We didn't even talk about the ghost stories. I'm really interested to know, and maybe we just tell people they've got to come on the tour. But what's your favorite Santa Fe ghost story?
Um, well, my favorite Santa Fe ghost story, um, is actually pretty intense, and it's actually the Pueblo Revolt.
Uh,
And that one is because when you walk the plaza at night when there's no one there, there's a, and so that's not that's a real event that took place, and a lot of people were lives were taken during that period of time. But when I finish my ghost tours in the plaza, and we pause, and we just kind of close our eyes and listen and stuff, there's a eerie feeling that is, it's not a made up story. This is a factual event that took place. And again, none of our stories are made up. I don't make up, these are passed down stories and whatnot. But that one, because it's so powerful of what happened, and again, my ancestors were kicked out and killed and sent packing to El Paso, Texas. I mean that, so it's a personal thing, but it's a story that we have to tell. If we don't tell that story, then we're doing a disservice to all the people that have lived in the area, for hundreds and thousands of years. So that one's intense. And I talk about some specifics of it that a lot of people don't talk about, but I think that's why even the indigenous people selling under the market, and I've had native and indigenous people listen in on my history, and be like, that's, this guy's legit, like this guy. And when I tell them I'm from Chama, and we're part Native American, we're 20-30% indigenous through our bloodline as well. There's just a form of respect, and I think it's important to tell the story in a respectful way.
okay, so I got to do that one too. Um, tell me what's next.
Yeah. No, so what's next is we're just looking forward to hopefully a good year, right? There's a lot of people visiting. Tourism is hopefully on par with last year, which is around 3 to 4 million visitors. Clearly, we love our locals, and I am just hopeful and confident that this coming year will be a big year, mainly for the driving tours. Again, I think taking people to the cliff dwellings and the Pueblo of Taos and going through Chimayó and I've done a few of these already, and I think I'm hopeful that what I'm creating is what I call destination experiences. So people are coming here, and I'll give you a few examples of what currently kind of Sky Railway. That's a destination experience, and we're trying to be an allied partner with them as we speak to where we can kind of be co-partners in different ways of sending each other business. Meow Wolf, right? Same thing. George R. creating something so when people think of Santa Fe, we get to the top of things to do while you're here.
You've really inspired me because I'm always looking for gifts to give to people who have bought a new home here and are coming from, I mean, it's crazy. This year I've got clients from Vermont and from Maine and from Ohio, and not just the typical California, Texas crew. And I think giving them a gift card to do one of your tours is something I'm going to put in their basket for, what we deliver to their house. But um, give us an idea because Sky Railway is an expensive excursion. Although I would always tell people they should do it.
Mhm.
And Meow Wolf is not inexpensive. What's it like if you're a couple and you're going to go on one of your tours? What's the
Yeah.
cost like?
Yeah, no, and welcome to Santa Fe.
Yeah,
Right?
no kidding. It's
Uh,
expensive to live here. It's expensive to run a business. Yeah.
yeah, you know what? I've gone back and forth. If you believe it or not, when I first started this, and if we look back at that video, we'll see I was charging $50.
I know. I
And I
thought,
think
wow.
you were like that, yeah, good luck, right? Sort of thing. And this was me sort of testing the market. Our walking tours range, the history tour, which again is 2 3 hours. I think it's like $85 a person. The food tours are 125. The ghost tours 85. But that includes two margaritas, right? We finish at Las Posadas and talk about the famous Julia. But our driving tours are going to be right around 250 a person. But these are all day adventures.
Oh,
So
that's perfect.
these
Yeah.
are 7 8 hours. Again, we include lunch, we include drinks, we include entry fees. Yeah, my parents were just in Italy, and they, I was like, hey, do some kind of research for me. They did, of course, when people travel internationally, you do tours that you don't know what's going on, and they're in Venice and stuff. And so we're priced fairly reasonable with the market and kind of especially for the amount of time. And so yeah, to your point, like there's, some expensive things. And that's why it was important for me to like, okay, if I'm gonna pay 250 and again go do a day trip, like I want to like I don't want you to worry about you have to now pay for entry into Taos Pueblo
Right.
or the
Right.
Bandelier. And now you have to worry about your own lunch. We take care of everything from start to finish, and you're in a comfortable luxury vehicle. So, no, to your point there, Bunny, I love all the support. We'll chat aside to, see how we can, again, kind of partner up and offer you guys something for your clients, but also the proof is in the pudding, right? And what I mean by that is come and anytime you and the family and whoever else are interested, sooner than later, come join me on whatever, driving tour, walking tour that may be. So you can see for yourself, and then you'll be able to talk to, just like you've done Sky Railway a couple, many of times, and can speak to it. You'll be able to speak to what we do as well.
Well, I got to wrap up, but I want you to tell people where they can find you both on social media and online to book tours.
Yeah. So, www.vigilanteguides.com or at Vigilante Guides on social. Social's a good way to, we love followers. It's again, you're looking at the social media manager. We're trying to get to that point of growing and being able to scale and produce kind of more content. But as we get out on the road this year, I'll have some really cool stuff that I think, again, nobody's doing it at the level that I am right now. So trying to create something to stand out. We appreciate all the support from locals, to your point, when you have clients or, corporate or company or friends and family visiting, right? That's another one. You're like, we all know what to do. We're all going to really the same spots, but providing them again, a kind of cool, all-inclusive experience can also go a long way. And just, or to, hey, go do this for a few hours while we, do whatever it is. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on. And I think community is huge, right? And so I love what you're doing and providing people information and, what to do and kind of what's going on and stuff. And we'll kind of dovetail and tag team on everything we can to create, a really cool place that people love to visit, but are proud to be from and proud to enjoy this amazing city that we live in.
That's what I mean, the whole reason that we do this is because I believe in building a community where everybody feel both included and passionate. I mean, I love your passion for this. And that's what I'm really passionate about is, I started out with the whole New Mexico piece, the I Love New Mexico podcast. And it was so clear in the last year when we ended that podcast that we were talking to more people from Santa Fe and northern New Mexico than anything else. And I love that you have this amazing passion for introducing where you live and the places you love to people everywhere. So don't stop. Don't stop. It's really important work that you're doing. And we're getting on a tour in the next month. I'm excited
sounds
about
good.
it.
One thing I want to tease just real quick at the end here for those people, a cool experience that I'm working on. Hopefully we'll launch by the end of this fall. It's called Railroad in Ruins. So we're going to do a whole week adventure where we go north to Chama and we do Cumbres and Toltec on Monday. We'll drive into Durango. We'll stay in Durango. We'll do Durango Silverton on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to go do Mesa Verde. And then Thursday, we're going to do Chaco Canyon and finish back here in Santa Fe at the end of the day on Thursday. So it'll be like a Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, all week adventure, all inclusive. You pay, we're working on pricing and all of that now. So, again, this will be a 4-day food, lodging, tickets, you name it, we include it. And it's going to be called Railroad in Ruins. And I'm hopeful that by this fall, we'll have this, live, and it'll just be, one week trip, 12 to 13 spots. And I'm thinking that might be something that could be a pretty popular thing for people to come from all over to do. So
that is such a great idea. And I mean, you just named places that I love. Mesa Verde, I went there on a science trip when I was in the 7th grade and I never got over it. So cool. So I don't want to give away more details, but stay tuned and maybe we'll talk to you right before that launches.
Yeah.
Let's get back together.
Totally.
Folks, go and find Jerard and Vigilante Guides and remember to be watchful and curious and generous, just like Jerard is. Thank you so much, Jerard.
Thank you. Appreciate it.